Hey there, I'm Vanessa and I'm a 35-year-old woman. Today I want to talk to you about my lying, cheating ex-husband and how I managed to shut down his dreams without him ever figuring out that it was me who did it. Let me begin by introducing you to my ex-husband, Alec. Alec and I met at a bar. There was some event happening and we got to talking with each other. We exchanged phone numbers, which led to us going on a few dates before making the relationship official. Alec and I had good chemistry. Alec was kind and caring, and he had a great sense of humor. I loved that he took things a little cooler than I did, and I always thought that it provided us with the perfect balance. We dated for around 2 years before deciding that we wanted to get married. After we got married, I got quite a large amount of money from my grandparents. I already had a savings account, so it went in there. This savings account existed only because I believed it was better to have at least something to fall back on in case of an emergency. The last thing I'd want is to be stranded with no help whatsoever. I didn't tell anyone about the savings I had. I started saving money when I was 18 and I opened the account all on my own. But I had to tell Alex about these savings when I got the money from my grandparents because he would not stop making plans for how we could spend all the money. I wouldn't have minded spending that money on something we actually needed, but Alec wanted to spend it on buying another car or on moving to a better place. These were just luxuries he wanted and not needed. When Alec found out about my savings, he got upset that I had never told him about the account, but eventually agreed that it was my money and I got to do with it whatever I wanted. Alec stopped bringing up my savings and that was it, or so I thought. About a year into our marriage, Alec's friends came to our town and he went out drinking with them. I didn't mind that, but what I did mind was the fact that Alec began behaving differently after that. Suddenly, he was a lot more quiet and he barely paid me any attention. Every time I tried to talk to him about his behavior, he would brush me off. So eventually, I decided to just give him his space and hope that he would just come to me on his own. Thankfully, he did. Something's been on my mind and I need to talk to you about it. Oh, what is it? Remember how I went to meet some of my friends 2 weeks ago? Yes, you've been different ever since that night. Well, my friends and I got to talking about our dreams and how far we've gotten with achieving them. Oh, that's nice. What was your dream? This is kind of embarrassing, but I've always wanted to own my own restaurant. Really? I don't think that's embarrassing at all. Really? You think so? Yeah, I mean, if I had the management skills, I'd want to open my own restaurant as well. Yeah, well, I think I do, and I really want to get started on making that dream a reality. That's great, but how do you plan on funding it? That's where I hoped you'd help me. What do you mean? It's just that all my friends are at least somewhere on their way to achieving their dreams. I'm the only one that hasn't begun to work on it. But I can't even be upset with myself about it because I never had the money to invest in it, so I was wondering if you'd be willing to invest in me. Alec, do you have a plan in mind? Do you have any projections of how you expect the business to run? No, but does that matter? Of course it does. I can't blindly invest in you. Why not? I'm your husband and you have a huge amount of savings. Just because you're my husband and I have money, it doesn't mean that I should just spend all that money on something that I don't even know will succeed. Are you trying to tell me that you don't believe in me at all? I'm not. All I'm asking is that you give me a concrete plan to invest in. I don't want to invest in literally an idea. So if I come up with a good business plan, you'll invest in my business? It will definitely raise the chances of that happening. But that's enough about that for now. How about we eat dinner? Alec was upset that I wasn't readily accepting to spend my money on him, but what was I supposed to do? These are large amounts of money that I can't afford to lose. Not to mention, I saw the way that Alex spends his money. He has absolutely no care in the world when it comes to money. That is why his parents cut him off financially and he was broke at the end of each month, despite making a little more money than me. Alec was curt with me for the next 6 months. It hurt to see that Alec didn't see where I was coming from and that he was willing to treat me differently just because I didn't want to spend money on his dream. But 6 months later, Alec came up to me with a business plan. He planned to open up a pizzeria and planned to make it a fancy, family-style dine-in area. I was impressed, although I didn't think it was still a good idea. So when Alec asked me how I liked the plan, I told him as such. How do you like the plan? It's not bad, but I don't know if it's smart to invest right now. What do you mean? Weren't we just talking about having kids? I was kind of hoping to use the money I have as a fallback for our kids. You're valuing our non-existent kids over my dreams? I'm just being logical about this. Besides, a lot of your projections seem like a stretch. And our locality has enough pizzerias. It'll take you a while to break even. Look, I'm just trying to do the best with what I can. I'll expand the menus and find the best sellers to source my ingredients. I promise I'll make it work. I believe you, I do, but this just seems a bit much, no? Why don't we wait a bit and we'll make that decision? Do you not believe in me? Why are you not investing in me? I do believe in you. I just don't think this is a smart decision. How is it not a smart decision? You have no experience in the restaurant business. You've never been around people that have their own restaurants. Maybe you should try and get some hands-on experience first. This just seems like you're coming up with stupid reasons to not invest. If you don't want to invest, just say it outright. It's not that. It's just a large amount of money for me to invest in something that may not be as successful as you hope. But isn't that what we're supposed to do as spouses? We support each other no matter what. Sure, but that does not mean that I support you when you do something wrong, right? So you think what I dream of is wrong? You're twisting my words. I love you and I want to support everything you want to do. But I can't do that if it means that we're jeopardizing our future. The money in my savings could be used as a fallback if either of us begins struggling. It could be a part of a college fund for our children. The point is, that's a large amount and I'm just not comfortable with using it to fund your business. What if I gave you shares in it? I expect to have shares if I'm going to invest. You know what? Why don't you give me some time to think about this? Please. This would make me so incredibly happy, and I promise that I will not make you regret it. Okay, then let me draw up the contracts and we'll figure it out from there. So you'll do it? I might. Let's just see how things go with the paperwork. I felt like I was making a horrible decision, like my gut was screaming at me not to invest in him. Not because I didn't love him, but because he had no idea what he was doing. But at the same time, he was my husband and I loved him. I wanted to support him in every way that I could. I also knew that I couldn't do that at the cost of myself. So the next day, I went to a lawyer friend's place and asked for their advice. They helped me draft up a contract for how things should work when I invest in Alec. If there was one thing I knew for certain, it was that I was not going to be the only investor. So I sat Alec down and told him that he needed to find another investor. He told me that he spoke with his parents and they'll be willing to have some stake in the business. I was glad that it got out of the way. We worked on all the legal aspects and I made sure that none of my terms had any loopholes that could be exploited. I know I sound like I never trusted Alec to begin with, but the truth is, I've seen how business changes people. It's happened in my family and the last thing I'd want is to be screwed over if things go south. Anyways, after we signed our contracts, we found a place that we could buy to set the restaurant up. Over the next year, there were renovations and a lot of research on suppliers and employees. Eventually, we had a grand opening of the restaurant and it was gorgeous. I actually was hopeful that things would go according to plan. The business did well for exactly 10 months before things started to go south. Alex stopped paying as much attention to things. The food coming out of the kitchen always tasted bad, and the customer service was terrible. Even though I wanted no part in the business, I wanted Alec to still have his dream, and I didn't want any of my money to go to waste. So I stepped in and took over. I did everything except for the cooking of the food. I cleaned the kitchen, did the admin work, did the accounts, was the HR, managed the front of the house, managed the kitchen, you name it. I did it. And I juggled that with my day job. I was being stretched absolutely thin. Alec and I began to fight a lot as well. I would get so mad at him for not doing anything in his own restaurant, and he would always tell me that he was having a rough time mentally. Eventually, I just gave up and waited for him to feel better or until I broke even so I could sell the place and move on. One day, I came back home early because I wasn't feeling all too well. The stress was catching up to me and I just needed to rest. But when I entered the house, I could hear the sounds of a woman coming from our bedroom. My heart shattered when I opened the door and saw my husband in our bed, sleeping with the waitress in our restaurant. She squealed when she saw me and ran into our bedroom. Before I could help myself, I asked Alec what was going on. "What is this?" Hey, this is a bit awkward. You're cheating on me? With your employee, no less? She was there for me when you weren't. When was I not there for you, Alec? When? I mean, you have to admit that you've been a bit absent as of late. Yes, because I've been busy managing your restaurant. I did all of that only for you to cheat on me with someone who works for you at a restaurant that I paid for. Well, what do you expect? When you're not there to satisfy me, I'm bound to find satisfaction elsewhere. Is that how it is? You found satisfaction in a woman who's 10 years younger than you? You were just as pretty when you were younger. You just let yourself go recently. Are you actually being serious right now? All I'm saying is that you can't blame me for what happened. You should have been the one that looked after me too. You neglected me, and I found attention where I could. I'm not your mother. Why am I responsible for looking after you? You're a grown man. Do you really see no wrong in what you did? I may be a grown man, but I am a man that has needs. Needs which you weren't meeting. You can't pin the blame on me. That's absolutely crazy. Do you even care that you ruined our relationship? I mean, kind of. Kind of? Kind of? I sacrificed everything for you. I gave up everything I had just to make sure that you got what you wanted. Does that mean nothing? That's the only reason I feel bad. I mean, I kept my promise about making sure the business never failed, but I did make you regret it in the end after all. But then again, you let me down too, so we'll just call it even. How is that even close to things being even? You've crapped all over everything I did for you and all over our relationship. The least you could do was at least show some remorse. I would love to feel some remorse, I do, but I guess that I've lost feelings. And I believe I deserve better than this. I just did what I had to do. You couldn't have had this conversation with me before cheating on me? Did you have to break my heart this way? You defiled our marital bed and you feel nothing? I'm sorry, I guess. You know what? You're right. I'm the idiot for ever believing that you'd be capable of thinking about anyone but yourself. You're a disgusting man who can never see or accept why he's wrong. Right. Get all of this out of your system. I'm going to go now, but I hope you know that you're making the worst mistake of your life. I could barely think straight. I walked in on my husband cheating on me, and he had the nerve to not even apologize or feel bad for it. He tried to lob it off on me, and for a second, I actually did feel like I was the one at fault. But the more I heard him talk to me nonchalantly, the angrier I got. I couldn't believe that it was so easy for him to just throw away our years of relationship, all because he had some needs that had to be taken care of. The excuse is also just so pathetic. None of the men in my life had ever cheated on their wives because their needs weren't being met. I rushed out of the house with a bag full of my clothes and some essentials, got in my car, and drove away. I didn't know where I was going, but all I knew was that I was going to go as far away as possible from Alec. I ended up driving around the city for about an hour before finally going to stay with my parents. They welcomed me with open arms and gave me a shoulder to cry on. They were very upset that Alec cheated on me and didn't even feel sorry about it. They wanted to have a word with him, but I knew from experience that it would go nowhere. The only place it could go was my dad giving Alec a black eye. But thinking about my dad hitting Alec, I suddenly had an idea. I knew the perfect way to get rid of him. Since I owned half of the company and his parents the other half, I decided to sell my part of it. I knew all about the ins and outs of the restaurant. I knew that Alec wasn't correctly recording the figures just so he could bypass some fees and taxes. The best time to strike would be now because I'd get my money back in full. Alec's parents were more than happy to buy out my share. They had no idea about what was happening, and I didn't want to be the one that broke it to them. Once I got all my money back, I made an unknown tip to the health inspection office and informed them of the filthy kitchens and unhygienic conditions of the kitchen. I knew for a fact that if it wasn't for me, that place would be infested with all sorts of things, and mold would be growing wherever it could. The last thing I ever wanted to do for Alec after he showed no remorse or guilt was let him enjoy the fruits of my labor. I was going to make him pay. In the meantime, Alec signed for a divorce and we decided to have everything split equally. I signed the divorce papers and I was officially done. About a week after I called in the tip, I finally got some news, and the news came to me from none other than Alec. I ignored his calls initially, but then I gave in and picked up. Vanessa, hi. Don't hang up on me right now. Why shouldn't I? Look, I'm in some big trouble. I don't see how this is a reason for me to not hang up on you. Please, just hear me out. I'm giving you 5 minutes. Make it quick. I was not at the restaurant today, and I got a call around noon that the health inspectors had come to visit the restaurant based on an anonymous tip. Ooh, I bet that the state of the kitchen was definitely not okay in their eyes. It wasn't, and I should have listened to you, not to mention I hadn't been reporting the correct income, so I got slapped with fraud too. I would say that I was surprised by your actions, but you really showed me that you were capable of anything. You don't have to keep beating down on me. I already feel like crap. I still don't see why I needed to get a call about this. I wanted to tell you that the restaurant is getting shut down because there were just too many health code violations. I have no money to my name. I'm flat out broke. I need your help. Hard pass. What? You can't just say hard pass and go. Alec, name one good reason why I should even consider helping you. We were together for 6 years. You knew me better than anyone else. Don't you feel even an ounce of sympathy for me? I thought I knew you, but I didn't. I think that was abundantly clear. I have no sympathy for you whatsoever because, like I told you last time, I find you disgusting. Besides, this is all your fault anyway. I get what you're trying to do here. You're throwing the same things I told you 6 months ago in my face. I'm sorry for saying all of that, but I really need you to be a little mature right now. I'm very mature right now. If I wasn't, I wouldn't have stuck around to listen to the rest of your sob story. How are you not freaking out? You invested in my business and you're going to lose a lot of money. Oh, sweetie, I sold my shares to your parents who were more than happy to buy off your entire company. You did what? Yeah, I didn't want any ties with you at all. They're going to be so mad. What have you done? You have to help me out now. I don't have to do anything for you because I don't care about you. You are nobody to me anymore. I wish you nothing but luck with figuring out where to go from here on. Bye. I couldn't believe that not only had my plan worked, but Alec had no idea that it was me who orchestrated the entire thing. Not to mention his parents are real sticklers about their money. They get very upset when they feel like they've lost money, and in this case, they've lost hundreds of thousands. I felt bad for them, but I also knew that they could afford a loss like that. Also, I knew for a fact that they would disown Alec, or at the very least refuse to help him out after his big blunder. I mean, what would he say to them? That he was a cheat and a fraud in both his marriage and his business? They'd throw him out for sure, and I was looking forward to it. It only took a few more days for Alec to reach out to me again and beg me to help him out. All the anger and hatred I had harbored against this man vanished, and I was filled with pure pity and disgust. You have to be very, very unaware of yourself to be as ignorant as Alec was. The irony of him using our relationship as a bargaining chip to get what he wanted when he threw me to the curb without a care of our relationship was hilarious. I finally began to heal when I saw Alec struggle. Oh yeah, also, that waitress he was cheating on me with, she left him as soon as the restaurant shut down. Apparently she was only with him for his money. That did make me laugh. How did I find out about all of this, though? Alec would keep texting me updates about his life in the hopes that I would feel bad enough to give in and help him out. But with every update he gave me, I felt only more right in my decision to leave him and never help him out in any capacity. I had been used by him for long enough, and I deserved better. Alec went to live with his parents, and they have him working in their company with no payoff to make up for all the money he lost them. As for me, I'm doing great. Life is finally starting to look colorful, and I'm no longer stressed out all the time. I'm going to use my newfound free time to focus on myself and finally give myself back the years I spent on that man-child Alec. Thank you so much for listening to my story.